All right, let's jump in. And we keep coming back to this in M&A, but timing can be, well, everything. If you're listening here in Georgia or anywhere, honestly, the market sets the rules, whether we like it or not. Let's talk about interest rates because I've had, I don't know, maybe 5 client conversations just this month about how much those rates eat into buyer budgets. I mean, look, every single time the SBA bumps their loan rate up by just 1%, a buyer's purchasing power drops by up to 10%. It's wild. That's not just theory, it literally plays out on deals we see. Your $2 million business last year, suddenly it's worth 1.8 to that same exact buyer. And it's not because the company changed, it's just financing math.
Yeah, and it's so tempting for owners to say, I'm just going to wait one more year. Things could get better. But waiting can shrink the pool of qualified buyers before you even know it's happening. And you lose access to incentives that sometimes disappear overnight. Several Georgia buyer credits are already on the chopping block. And if a client hopes those stick around, well, they might be waiting on a lottery ticket. Plus, state or federal tax incentives aren't forever. I mean, we've seen before. Remember when the federal capital gains tax rates changed last time? It felt like it happened at light speed.
Yeah, and we know that's coming up again, right? Those federal capital gains rates are expected to tick up for a lot of business owners in 2026. That could mean what? Tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes a 6 figure difference, just because the deal closed a year later than planned. It's not about scaring anybody, but if you're betting that incentives and tax breaks will wait for you, that's not the bet I'd recommend.
And it's not all in your control either. Sometimes you miss the window and it gets really expensive. That's why when clients ask, isn't it safer to wait for things to calm down? I say sure, but calm might never look the way you expect. Actually, acting while the market is hot and capital is accessible can position you much better, even if it feels a bit early. Ramsey, I think this comes up almost every other deal we look at. Timing's never perfect on paper, but the market doesn't care about perfect, right? Absolutely. I want to get into the other side, that human piece, because the numbers are only half the story. Owners tell themselves, I'll just wait until I feel more ready. Honestly, more often than not, what sets in is fatigue. And it's, how should I put it? It's sneaky. It creeps in slowly, and suddenly the business isn't getting the energy, the creativity, or even the day to day attention it deserves.
Yeah, and that fatigue, it doesn't send you a memo first, right? A lot of owners don't even notice when it starts. There's this curve I talk about. I call it the emotional fatigue curve. Not very scientific, but it's real. Performance starts to dip before you even feel tired. Suddenly, your revenues are drifting down, just a percent or two here and there. But buyers, they don't miss it. They see the P&L and there's this little red flag. And Claudia, remember in episode 3 when we discussed how Q4 numbers tell the real story about a business health? Fatigue often shows up there way before an owner wants to admit it.
Exactly. The best exits, the ones that feel good, that close smoothly, where owners get what they want, are almost always when people prepare before they're worn out, not when they're running on fumes. It's tough because I get that the business is your identity. You want to stick with it until the big aha moment. But that moment rarely comes exactly when the market's also saying yes. It really is all about that alignment, market timing, and personal energy. Sometimes, honestly, you've got to act when things feel a little uncomfortable rather than waiting until they're unmanageable.
Right. And for sellers listening, if you're waiting for the business to force your hand, whether it's burnout or slipping numbers, that's usually when you get the least leverage in offers or negotiations. The most successful deals we've seen, the ones that let owners move on with pride and money in their pocket, come from selling while you and your business are still on the upswing. You don't want to look back and regret, I waited too long.
Let me share a real story, one we both worked on recently. We had a husband and wife team up in North Atlanta, owners of a fantastic niche business. The numbers were strong, customer relationships were solid, and a few buyers were circling. They thought, let's wait one more year, build up just a bit more.
Yeah, and when they came back, the landscape had shifted. Interest rates had climbed. What, 2 points? Their revenues dipped just a hair, maybe 9% if I remember right, which doesn't sound like much. But when you stack that with less buyer capital from those higher rates, the valuation, it dropped by almost $400,000. That's not pocket change, especially after a lifetime of building the business. And I always say the math isn't personal, it's just brutal.
They're not alone either. We had another client, different scenario. She almost missed out too, holding on until burnout was around the corner. In her case, she realized just in time and did a confidential valuation, which turned the whole process around. Early prep didn't mean she sold overnight. It just meant she had control again. She had leverage. That's the heart of it. Preparing is about options, not rushing out the door. And the proper, confidential valuation is the start of that. Sometimes you just need to see the numbers and talk through the what ifs before they become if onlys.
Totally. When you see the impact in real world dollars, you get why we harp on this. It isn't meant to scare anyone, but waiting for the perfect time can quietly cost you a big chunk of your legacy. Getting the ball rolling early puts you in the driver's seat. Otherwise, the market or fatigue will do it for you, and rarely in a way you'd choose. Prepare before you have to, not after you feel you must.
So let's wrap this up with some practical advice. If you're listening and wondering, okay, but what do I actually do right now? It's pretty simple. Start your exit strategy early and don't make it only about the money. Think through the personal side. Am I ready? Is my family ready? As well as the numbers. That strategy is your lifeline, not just a checklist.
And keep your numbers current. Update your business valuation and market analysis regularly, at least annually. I know we preach that maybe too much, but it's because we've seen too many great businesses get blindsided. If the market shifts or your performance changes, you want to be tipped off early so you can act, not react. And look, that gives you the chance to spot windows of opportunity before they close or before buyer power shrinks again.
Also, don't wait till the finish line to start building your advisory team. That's everything. Having your financial advisor, your broker, your attorney on speed dial makes those transitions smoother and way less stressful. I mean, that's why we do what we do, to help people feel prepared, not panicked. It's never too early to talk to someone who's been through it before. That way, when timing and readiness align, you're ready to move, not scrambling to catch up.
Yeah, and hey, if you're in Georgia, seriously, don't hesitate to reach out. Even if you're 5 years out, just knowing your options is a game changer. We see it every day. That's it for today, Claudia. Always a pleasure kicking these ideas around with you. And for our listeners, we'll be back soon to tackle even more real stories and strategies. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ramzi, and thanks everyone for listening. Stay tuned, take care of yourselves and your business. See you next time.